Okay, so you're welcome. So we're going to be discussing the English lexis. Okay. So for those of us joining for the first time, this is the English with Techno channel, and on this channel we learn all about the use of the English language. So you're welcome once again to this exciting episode, which is happening on the 24th of December 2025. So this episode happens to be special because of the reason for the season, which is Christmas. Okay, so quickly, before I give us some words for today, I've had a lot of students ask questions regarding how do I learn words? What is the easiest way or the surest way to become a master of the English language vocabulary? Of course, you cannot exhaust all the words in the English language, but to an extent, you could know enough just to sit any exam, all right, on the English language and score very high. From the Unified Tertiary Matriculation exam to the Senior School Certificate exam to the tertiary institution exams, the GSTs, and even up to the IELTS, okay, the TOEFL, the vocabulary aspect of the GRE, and others. So it's possible to know enough words that can guarantee your success in any exam, both local or international. All right, so let's get right to it. Now, I would not say as a person I am a mobile dictionary of some sort, no, but I could say that I've practiced my vocabulary so often that I have them at my fingertips, and so they are an integral part of me, my everyday communication, okay, and my interactions with members of the outside world. All right, so here are short tips that can help you do very well in the English lexis. Number one is what we call interest. You must develop the interest to learn words. All right, it begins with an interest. Yes, so it is rather difficult trying to learn something that you are not or you are least interested in. Okay, so anytime you have to learn a thing and you have no interest whatsoever in that thing, you may not do too well. All right. So the first thing you must work on is interest. You must fall in love with words. The way you fall in love with food, the way you fall in love with music, the way you fall in love with ice cream, yogurt, and the likes. You must fall in love with words. It begins with loving words. So when you love words, then you will find it pleasurable learning them. All right. So even the Holy Book tells us where the treasure of the man is, there his heart will be also. So key number one to knowing words, all right, and being able to recite them without having to consult a textbook or a dictionary, you must have interest in learning words. Let the English vocabulary excite you. I'm always excited to learn words. I'm always excited to know new words, and I'm always excited to communicate in the English language. Key number two, you must set a pace for yourself. All right, this will help you to meet up with what we call a daily target. Okay, so when I started out learning words, I put myself on a daily ration of 10 words. So I learned 10 words per day. Okay, so at a point I was doing just 5 words. I learned 5 words per day, at least to help me stay consistent. So I learned 5. Later I realized that, okay, my capacity had increased. I could take 10. So I increased to 10. All right. So I can't tell you how many words I learn per day now so that I don't scare you, but you can start from somewhere. So set your own pace. Try not to copy anybody else. You set your own pace. I started with 5. You could start with 2. You could start with 3. Someone else could start with 1. But what matters is make sure you are consistent and you are making progress. So as you continue, 1 will become 2, 2 will become 3, 3 someday will be 5, 5 someday will be 10. You will just realize that you are no longer satisfied with the threshold. So you raise the margins again. Key number 3 to learning words, you must be consistent, or in a better term, you must be persistent. Okay, so I think persistence is much better because it is forceful. It connotes a sort of push, exerting force. Yes. Now, why is this necessary? This is so in the sense that a lot of times you may have to deal with disinterest, or rather the lack of interest. Yes, there are days that words are the last thing you will want to learn. A word, a vocabulary, you would not want to even hear it. So what happens on those days? That's where persistence comes in. So I push. I make sure I push. So whether I feel like it or I do not feel like it, I must learn words. Okay, so that's why I said persistence. Yes, so you must persist each day. So on some days too, you feel so great with yourself and you feel so great about learning words. Fine, keep going. On the days you do not feel that great, persist. That is how we learn words. All right. Now, number 4 key, which is something very important, but most people neglect it. Okay, it really helped me, so I think it should help you too. Number 4 key, you must have a community. Yes, create a community of like passioned individuals, okay, on the English Lexis. So have a friend or 2 or 3. They could be within your geographic location or outside of your, it could be online. You could have online friends because these days the internet unites us all irrespective of distance. It could be online. It could also be your immediate environment. Create a community of English language lovers or those interested in learning the English language vocabulary. All right, you could be a student of any tutorial, all right, on this live session now. So take my advice, get a community right there in your tutorial house. You can get a community of English language lovers. Yes, and then from time to time, share ideas. From time to time, discuss words. Yes, so it could be on a weekly base. You all meet and decide, okay, let's talk about the words we learned this week. Okay, and in the very act of sharing those words, you would learn some things that they know, and they too, or they in turn, will learn some things that you know. And then at the end of the day, each person gets better. Okay, so that's the whole idea of a community or an association. All right, so get a community of um, vocabulary enthusiasts and start off. Don't waste any more time. So, number one, develop interest. All right, number two, I said set your own pace. Yes, because you when it comes to Lexis, you cannot copy another person. You must be yourself. Yes, so do what works for you. All right, set a daily target and take what you can handle per day. Number three, I said persist. In addition to your consistency, be persistent. On the days you do not feel like learning words, still learn words. All right. Then lastly, I said create a community of Lexis enthusiasts, and it will be greased to your meal. That is to say, it will be very beneficial to you. Okay, so a bonus idea or a bonus factor that could move you from the beginner level to the advanced level vocabulary wise is this: use the words you learn often. This is where most students miss out, and year after year they still do not improve vocabulary wise. Okay, they learn the words, and then for some reason they keep those words in their pockets. They don't make use of those words. Okay, so whatever you do not use often, you are bound to forget too soon. I believe you got that. Whatever you do not use often, you are bound to forget too soon. So when you learn a new word, just like you'll be learning tonight, use the word, employ it in your conversations, and you will always remember. Yes. Okay? So there you go. Now, before we go tonight, I'm going to be telling us about 10 vocabularies in the English language. I believe we're excited. Okay, so you should be. Remember, you have to develop interest so that you can learn the English vocabulary. All right, so word number one, I'm going to talk on a word known as censure. Censure. Okay, so to censure is a verb. This word happens to be a verb. All right, and as a verb, it means to criticize. Yes. Okay, as a verb, to censure is to criticize. All right, and then when we say criticize, we have a lot of words for criticize. We have words like vilify, disparage, derogate, cry up, cry down, decry, pylori, and so on. You see, I am able to give you these words without looking at any material because I use these words very often, so I cannot forget them. So you should try using words too, they'll help. So I said the synonyms for censure include criticize, disparage, derogate, cry up, cry down, vilify, denigrate, and so on. All right. Now, the word censure, this word has some close lookalikes. We have the word called sensor and we have the word called sensor. You see that now? Sensor, sensor, sensor. Okay, so I already mentioned that censure is a verb, and as a verb, it means to criticize. Censor, beginning with S, is a noun, and as a noun, it means a material that can pick signals. A sensor is a material that can pick signals. That is to say, it can detect the presence of, for example, heat. So we have something known as heat sensors. You see that now? Then the last sensor you have on your screen is a noun, okay? And it is, as a noun, it is a body that is charged with the responsibility of scrutinizing movies, music, and other media contents, okay, to ensure that such contents are healthy for the public consumption. Okay, so that's your censor. All right. So in the music industry, for example, we have a censor board. Yes, we have a group or a body whose responsibility is to scrutinize the content of movies, music videos, soundtracks, media contents mainly, all right, and either approving or disapproving of them depending on how healthy or unhealthy they are for the public. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I'm going to tell us of a word known as salubrious. Salubrious. Okay, so to be salubrious just means to be neat or to be tidy. To be salubrious is to be neat or to be tidy. You can see the spelling, salubrious. So when anything is described as salubrious, that thing is clean, neat, tidy, what we call kempt. K-E-M-P-T, kempt. Okay, excellent. So that's that for salubrious. All right. We have number three, a word called unkempt. Unkempt. That word simply means to be untidy. To be unkempt is to be untidy. Okay, so it means unhygienic, lacking in cleanliness. That is the meaning of unkempt. All right. Number four, we have a word we call parky. P-A-R-K-Y. And to be parky simply means to be cold. All right. So I could have a sentence like, in winter, the weather is somewhat parky. So I mean the weather is somewhat cold. Okay. Number five, we have a word called parochial. Okay. And the word parochial simply means to be narrow-minded. When we describe a person or usually an individual as parochial, we are saying that such a person is narrow-minded. Narrow-minded. Number six, we have the word pusillanimous. This word does not relate to the pussycat. No. The word pusillanimous is an adjective that means to be shy, to be timid, to be fearful, to be sissy, etc. So when a person is described as pusillanimous, such a person is cowardly or behaves in a cowardly manner. Good. Number 7, we have a word called plumette. Plumette. All right. So plumette is actually a downward, should we call it a downward fall or just a fall? To plummet is to go down, to plunge into depths. That's the meaning of the word plummet. All right. So the price of gold in the stock market has plummeted or plummeted last night. It means it fell. All right. It went down. Okay. So we have another word called to skyrocket. Number 8, we have the word skyrocket. To skyrocket simply means to rise, to shoot up, to grow, to increase, to snowball. That's the meaning of skyrocket. All right, to skyrocket is to shoot up, to snowball, to increase. All right, and then we have a word, number 9. We have a word called antithesis, okay, which relates to an adjective we call antithetical. All right, so antithesis is also considered a literary device. Okay, so it is one of the figures of speech. Now, antithesis simply relates to any two ideas that are contrasting. Okay, contrasting, contradictory. So if two things oppose each other, we describe them as an antithesis, or we say they are antithetical. Excellent. Number 10, we have a word we call anathema. Anathema. To be an anathema, it could be a person or a thing, but either ways, an anathema simply means a hateful person or thing. A hateful person or thing. An anathema also is used to mean a curse. C-U-R-S-E. An anathema is used to mean a curse. All right, something that does not bode well for others. Good. So when we describe a person as an anathema, you are either saying that person is a curse. As a curse, we could have another word called a scourge. Yes. So such a person is a disaster, so to say. Okay. The word anathema also means a hateful person or a hateful thing. All right. Now, when I mentioned the word curse, I remembered that we have certain words that look closely like the word curse. Okay. So C-U-R-S-E is pronounced as curse. Curse. It has the long vowel e. C-O-A-R-S-E is pronounced as cause. All right. And then C-O-U-R-S-E is equally pronounced as cause. Okay. Now, your C-U-R-S-E is an anathema, like I mentioned earlier, just as you can see on the board. Okay. The C-O-A-R-S-E means to be rough. It means to be rough. Excellent. So, when we want to describe, for example, sand, we could describe it as coarse, which means to be rough. To be rough. Okay. Also, when we say coarse, C-O-A-R-S-E, we are saying to be immoral. Yes, to be coarse is to be immoral in another sense, meaning that a person or thing being described or spoken of is sensual, all right, is promiscuous, is lewd. Okay, so we could describe, for example, a joke as a coarse joke. All right, children are not allowed to listen to coarse jokes. It means sexual jokes. All right, the man made some coarse remarks about the lady. It means some lewd remarks, vulgar remarks. Vulgar, that's a word you should take note of. VULGAR. All right, and then we have the word COURSE. Okay, that word should be pronounced as curse. Yes, it should be pronounced as curse. But the word COURT is pronounced as court. Okay, that's just some of the pegs with the oral English. So COURSE can be used in different ways. Number one, it can be a program of study. For example, what course are you studying in the university? You could say, I was given the course AEB. I was given medicine as a course. You are correct. All right. Now, COURSE can also mean a person's part in life. Okay, a person's part in life or a person's journey. Yes, COURSE can be a path or a journey. COURSE can also mean an activity. All right, for example, Mr. Techno mentioned a lot of synonyms in the course of his teaching or in the course of his live session. Okay, in the course, meaning as the activity was going on or was ongoing. You see that? Excellent. COURSE can also be used to describe food, as in a meal. So we could have an expression like, I had a French course earlier today. Okay, I could have an expression like, we had a 3-course meal at the restaurant today. All right, 3-course. You see that now? So it's actually a word that has multiple applications in different contexts. Okay, so that's that for that. All right, so as we can see, do not forget where we started from. I made mention of the tips on how to master the English lexis. Okay, and number one, I told you, develop the passion to learn words. Develop the passion to learn words. Okay, and I equally told you, number two, to set your own pace. All right, set your own pace. You see that now? So do not try to copy or be like anyone else. In addition to your consistency, you must be persistent. You see that now? Excellent. Now, number four, I made mention of creating a community of enthusiasts or lexis lovers is such a matter. Okay, and then I mentioned something I called usage, using the English language vocabulary often, using those words, putting them in your everyday communication, whether you are chatting on WhatsApp or talking with a friend close by on a call, whatever the case, use the vocabularies that you have learned. Okay, all right, so that brings us to the end of today's live session, and we have censure, censor, censor, salubrious, unkempt, perky, parochial, pusillanimous, plummet, skyrocket, antithesis, and what I called an anathema. Don't forget, censure means to criticize harshly. Okay? A censor is a detector, e.g., something that can detect heat. So we call it a heat sensor. All right. We also have censor, which is to scrutinize, to review, to examine. Okay. And I made mention of censor as a noun, like a board or a body charged with the responsibility of scrutinizing media contents, music, videos, movies, and whatnot. Number two, I told you salubrious means to be neat, to be clean, to be tidy. All right. So, when anything or any person or any place is described as salubrious, it means there's no stain. Okay. So, without blemish, without wrinkle, without spot. So, it is spotless. Unkempt, on the other hand, is to be untidy. Yes. Untidy, unhygienic. Okay. Dirty, and so on. To be perky is to be cold. And in a typical example where I made mention of winter, yes, so we usually describe a weather with the expression perky, a cold weather. All right. While in idioms, when you want to describe an extremely cold weather, we call it a brass monkey. That's an idiomatic expression. Please take note of that. A brass monkey is an extremely cold weather. All right. Now, to be parochial is to be narrow-minded. To be pusillanimous is to be shy. I gave words like timid, fearful, sissy, cowardly, and so on. To plummet is to fall deeply. But to skyrocket is to rise. Okay. So when you go up, you skyrocket. All right. We could use that, or we could use an expression called shoot up. Market prices have shot up over the weekend. Okay. So market prices have skyrocketed, shot up. All right. That is SHOT and UP. This is the past tense of shoot, not SHUT. When it is SHUT, that is the phrasal verb for telling a person to keep quiet. Okay, so that's that. Now we have the word antithesis. I made mention of antithesis being a literary device, one of the figures of speech, and I told you its basic meaning in English, which is contrast. Two things opposing each other, contradicting each other, or in contrast. Lastly, I made mention of the anathema as a hateful person or thing. And I told you an anathema is likened unto a curse, which we can call a scourge. I made mention of three words that look alike and sound alike. Okay, curse, cause, curse. All right. Okay, I may be missing that pronunciation, but I guess we'll find out. All right, so I made mention of curse as a word that means an anathema. Okay, this is a hateful statement. A curse is a hateful statement. It's not a good statement. All right. Okay, so we could have a statement like, or a sentence like, the aggrieved mother showered curses or rained curses on the perpetrators of the dastardly act. Right? Cause I made mention of is to be rough, and I told you the concept of rough can mean not smooth, but then equally means to be corrupt, to be immoral, to be lewd, to be sensual, to be libidinous, to be lecherous, all right, to be promiscuous, to be lascivious. You see how sweet it is? I understand. Okay, you could be like that too if only you follow the rules I gave on learning Lexis. All right. Then lastly, I told you of the word course, how we can use it to mean a journey, a path, how we can use it with food. All right, we had a 3-course meal at the restaurant over the weekend. Okay, we also made mention of course as a program of study in the 4 walls of a school, e.g. a tertiary institution. Okay, so a person studying medicine or studying chemical engineering, that thing they are studying is their course. All right, so with this I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and a prosperous New Year. Do well to keep liking this channel and subscribe, turning your notifications on so whenever a new video pops up, you get notified. A lot of live classes will be happening from now on. As we enter the new year too, it's going to intensify. So do well to tell your friends or your community of English language enthusiasts of this channel, English with Techno. Until next time, I remain your host and your favorite English language instructor, Mr. Techno. Do have a lovely Yuletide season. Bye.